The relationship readiness program, we're asking ourselves, what do I need to know in order to become the best version of myself and to become the partner I wish to have? So it's known that we always look for another person who is complimenting us or filling the holes or making us happy, right? That is a very common attitude and version. That's what we learned from people around us and before, from movies, from stories, and so on. But truly, over time, of course, we find out, and also psychology is teaching, that we need to be happy ourselves in order to be a good partner for the other. We are made for connection, and therefore is this constant desire that we want to be with somebody else, we want to belong to a family. Without that, we actually starve. And when we don't have connection, when we are, then we go into some kind, we're driven to addiction. And many people might just say, well, I don't have an addiction. But it's not so known that even workaholics could be an addiction, or taking care of other people could be a disorder. So these things we do in order to cover up loneliness and not being in a place where we can love and be loved. I mean, if we give ourselves to others, if we serve, of course, we will be loved or we feel loved. But that's a deeper discussion of how much we're paying to get loved and how much we receive unconditional love. So that is maybe certainly beyond this program. But what I think is we should ask ourselves the question, what does it take to get to that place? Or do this place? Or do this? That's something that most of us, it's our ideal. This is what we would like. And the question is what it takes to be in an emotional, healthy relationship. So I'm saying this slow and pointing it out because we don't grow up with this idea that people say, oh, emotionally healthy, is this relationship like this and so on. So I would say the common viewpoint for dating or going forward, marrying, is that we think, okay, I've reached a certain age, hey, it's time to leave my family of origin, to not be alone. It's a logic next step that I want to so-called fall in love and marry. So this is what all of us, I think, are familiar, and we easily go to this place of thinking. But then, what is our reality? First, we dream, as you see here on the left side. This is what we want to have. And then often we end up at the place that you see on the right side, that there's misunderstandings. Even if we fall in love and choose a partner, every couple is eventually challenged with discomfort triggers and unhappy times. I mean, there's just no getting around. And I will make some comments to that and explain it throughout this presentation. Just want to mention here also that a wise woman, and she's the mother of a good friend of mine, wrote to her, if you want to be made happy, don't marry. So that's what I said earlier. If we're looking for a match in that way to complement us and to fill the holes, then it is better to not marry, because that would point out we are really not ready to do the very thing to make somebody happy, to be there for the other, to live for the other. And then when we have that fullness, so that's what she said, if you want to make happy, marry. She actually wrote it on 2 pages. She wrote the first sentence on the end of 1 page. She wrote a letter to my friend. And then she thought, oh my gosh. And she turned the page and thought, oh, if you want to make happy, marry. And from that, I think you can all see that I want to say marriage takes investment. I just loved that picture. I thought, life and relationships is like a flower garden, isn't it? That we
Yes.
need to invest, take care of things. And I mean, in this case, she's just looking and enjoying it. But I thought it was a gorgeous picture. I just fell in love with it. And then I saw this one and I thought, this is when we don't water, when we don't pull weeds and just really don't attend our garden. And that's the same in relationships. By pulling weeds, of course, I would say this is related to unresolved issues. That's what I'm talking about, attending, taking time, and really investing, growing. So as here, pulling weeds, planting seeds, and watering. These are the different things that we see in a garden and in nature. And somehow, I guess it takes for most people first to go down the unhappy lane in order to wake up and to do something about it and actually learn things, work hard to get to a place like this. I don't know if we'll get there, but this also looked very good to me. Very inspiring as a reminder that this is what we want, this could happen, and it certainly takes investment. I want to say here also that everything we do, if we have a career, if we want to have a driving license, we study for it, we go to school, we take tests, and only then, when we pass, we can move forward. And interesting enough, that what I think the most important things in our life is our relationships and when we raise other people, that we have skills and we have maturity. But for that, we don't need a license. We don't need anything. We can just freely walk into it. So we can change our career. Of course, we can change personal habits. If it's eating, if it's physical activities, sports, how we create a day, a week, a month, what kind of self-care we do, how we communicate. And all these things we can change, but it is a different story when it comes to marriage and to parenting, because that is becoming tricky when we want to change that. So it is really better to know that we need preparation for it. And it is probably, I said it here as a statement, the most important decision in our life, choosing our partner. And I'm not saying, so some people definitely will hear this and registered for this, already married, and maybe their chin is dropping or they're getting nervous now to say, oh my God, what did I do? But I would say, even no matter where we are at, we can gain a new understanding what marriage is and how to work on issues. And also, of course, in this whole presentation, I will point out working on ourselves as a foundation for something, and that we can do even after we're married. It may be harder, that we overlooked certain decisions and things, character traits, and so on. But if we want to be idealistic, we could say the more challenges, the more we grow. And I don't mean just investment and sacrifice, but I mean it is an opportunity to discover things we would have never discovered. So I just want to leave that as a comment, because hopefully you all join in the program in July or sometime later, where a lot of stuff will be explained concerning this. I want to point out Dr. Havel Hendricks here. He's the founder of imagotherapy. And what he's saying is, by the way, the book that he wrote 30 years ago with his wife, Getting the Love You Want, is quite a great book, but it was republished recently because one chapter was changed, and that was about communication skills. He and his wife, Helen, designed a few years ago a new program that's called Safe Conversations. Also, I'm not going to teach any of that today. I'm going to mention it at the end, that these things would be part of the program that everybody could go through. So what they're saying is our subconscious looks for a partner who has similar traits as the caretakers in our childhood who wounded us. Maybe that's for the moment a little bit difficult to understand, but our subconscious is looking for it in order to be healed. So because we are meant to become whole, or here I want to say our original self is striving to find healing. We are meant to come home to our core, develop our divine self. But most of us are not aware of this, and we step into marriage and parenting with baggage called unresolved issues. So I want to say an example here. In his book, he says there's a young woman growing up with an alcoholic father. And so, of course, she's becoming codependent. She's losing her voice, tiptoeing around. Let's not trigger Dad when he comes home drunk, because that is bad news. And as she's dating, she's meeting a young man who is really nice, calm, brings her flowers, takes her out, is on time, is doing all the right things, making her compliments and so on. And here we go, they get married. Sometime later, he's losing his job. And what is he doing? He's taking to the bottle. That would be a typical example of here she has the opportunity. She can either be quiet, keep not losing her voice, she already lost it, but keep the same pattern, or she can gain the courage to learn to speak up and to, we could say, to get what she needs and wants, but also to help, because she could encourage and ask what her husband is suffering from, how she can be helpful. And she would have the power to create a healthy relationship. So this is what he's talking about by restoring, healing our wounds. And if both partners are awake and aware, they can step into the position to become the healing partner for the other. So if we do this for each other, of course, we need the commitment, or it's better, it's easier if both partners move into that place, learn skills, and have that understanding that marriage is actually about being healing partners, finding the wounds that we have, or the other one being more or less informed. When we gain trust, we can share with the other one that, okay, so maybe I didn't have this and that with my parent, either mother or father. Then it is up to the other person that they don't put salt into our wounds, but rather put lotion on our wounds. So helping to heal that part of us. But what does happen in a relationship when we are going into it so unaware of unresolved issues, as I would say it is mostly? I have worked for 30 years in this profession. I'm sure I've seen a lot. So with confidence, I want to say most people don't have a clue. We are not learning this at school. We are not learning it at home. And we certainly have unresolved issues. I would say over time, I also saw it's not just on the emotional level. It is also on the spiritual level. I have added on in my work, so not just teaching skills or doing inner child work, looking for issues to be healed, but I have seen that there is emotional, spiritual burdens on people, and have implemented things like the emotion code or sent my clients to different programs in order to resolve burdens that we can't solve through psychology or through exercising and knowing skills so well. So my last part here, what I want to explain is we fall in love. Here it is. We are, or we create somehow a relationship and feel like, okay, this is good, this is safe, or they are in love, create that marriage. And what we don't know, so these little purple dots, I didn't have a better design, but it symbolizes the hidden unresolved issues. We also could say our inner children or inner child that shows up in different ways of wounds. And when we are triggered, that means somebody here underneath is triggered and is hopping on that scale. We're getting out of balance, and the person where the two dots, the two wounds are on that scale. So that means, this person is now triggered and is not anymore in the adult position. We think we're in adult position, but we moved into a wounded child position, and are now hoping, looking at the other, that person has enough understanding, enough love, enough unconditional love to heal us or to even this out, and maybe to be our parent. But what happens mostly, not always, but mostly, is that, the other person suddenly isn't nourished and maybe is blamed. Is blamed by the other person. So now that person is triggered. And as you see, okay, maybe it's balanced, maybe more of these little wounds are hopping up on the scale. Balanced or not balanced, the energy goes down and it becomes maybe miserable, or at least not anymore as happy as we wish and we would love to have it. So, I want to go back to that again. I want you all to really look at that, because this is the place where people fight, where the individual is getting emptier and emptier. And it takes investigation to see what is really underneath. It's usually not that, usually everybody has something. We all have issues that are unresolved. What we need to carefully look at here is what is mine and what is yours. That's just simply how it is. What is mine and what is yours? Where is our wounding coming from, our emptiness? So here I want to mention again, Safe Conversations and the Dr. Havel Hendricks system, because I would say this is the most advanced and sensitive method in order to learn to listen to the other and understand each other. And when we do so, that we actually want to understand the other, or that we are understood, that is actually the most important thing, to be safe and to feel loved. It has proven, statistics are saying, it's not so much if the other one is changing. It is more that we take time to set time aside so we talk and each person can express, the other one is listening, and we are understood. And there's a desire to heal our wound. And of course, if that is done by both sides, then things take a turn, and those little children, they are healed and will not bring down the energy in the relationship. So it's time to take initiative. Very important is to find out if the other one is coachable, if you are coachable. So both matters, because it is, of course, much easier when both people are coachable. In relationship readiness, we are asking, what happened to me? Who am I today? Am I living in my shadow or sunny self? What can I do to become the partner I wish to have? And so therefore, I designed a program, or a step-by-step program, to lead to stability and confidence. As I said earlier, knowledge is really what I believe is the first step, that we need to read, become knowledgeable, and then compare what we are reading to our personal place where we are today. How much are we aware of all this, and where do I stand? And then from that, make decisions to build skills and to practice. As I said earlier, that I believe that we are healers for each other. And of course, what I said, don't marry to be happy, marry to make happy. In this program, so I start in July, doing a very short intro on all this, to have 4 90-minute sessions. And in this time, we would look at questions like our family history, what are the things we experienced, what belief system did we walk away with, and therefore we call it our inner family. And what do we want? What creates the dysfunction? And this is where people can register in generationalhealing.org. Not only do we have this foundational program, but the future is, after people take a foundational program, the future is to study also certain topics like real love or boundaries. The Intellectual Foreplay is a great book, questions for lovers and lovers to be. Conscious dating is like half of the book, is self-discovery. And then it talks about how to scout and sort and make decisions. Then the Safe Conversation program, and other things like trauma release and inner child work. So here we go. This is where everybody can register. This was a very short intro and the presentation, just to give you an idea. The greatest, I think it's a great investment when we say we take personal development and time with a partner and with kids for parenting as serious as we do other things, going to work, eating, and everything else we do in life. So we would not miss out on that opportunity to grow, to heal, and to live a beautiful life.